Father went into the Navy until the end of the war, and she lived in Worcester. Then she moved out to where she was from for a while, and then she moved us to my father's family for a while. Before, like I said, before we came to Hopkinton after the war in 1945, and because the house was sitting there and it was free and clear, and it was a place to live, and that's where my father stayed until he passed away in 1985. And talk about my mother. Of course, my mother is kind of well known in Hopkinton, or was well known in Hopkinton as a library director. She started working part-time at the library after my brother Ned was born, probably in 1953 or 54. And of course she come later, her career as the director for 19 years before she retired in 1991. And so a lot of people who may see this may remember her from the library, because she was always there.
Tell us her name.
Jeanette Ellsworth, yes. One of my heroes. My mother was one of my heroes.
And there's a lot of information about her in the historical collection at the library.
And some pictures, I'm sure. And,
a lot of photographs too.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, I can get you some if you need any.
So you, over time though, you've been here for so long.
I've been here a long time.
Can you talk about, I mean, the building of 495? I mean,
well, that's how, because 495 was laid out when I was in high school. It was laid out when I was in high school, and they were planning for it then. And they started to construct it probably in the early to mid '60s. And when they did that, they rezoned South Street from a residential area to a commercial business area, which of course it is today, the biggest area of a business in town. I mean, the world headquarters of EMC is located there. Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
Who would have thought it? And seen a lot.
Okay, so this is the second part of an interview due to a failed battery with Russell Ellsworth. Today we're back here at the Senior Center again. I'm Linda Connolly. Today is March 29th, 2013.
May.
Oh,
It's now May 29th. My name is Russell Ellsworth, and Linda Connolly is here to interview me.
Okay. A couple months off. Okay, and he's going to finish telling us about some of his memories related to growing up in the town.
Well, I'm not sure where I left off, but I remember all the horribles parade on the 4th of July. They would all the different neighborhoods would get floats and everything, and it was my recollection is true. There seemed to be more floats back then than there is now. But sometimes when you're little, memories are more than they really are. But one thing I do remember, and I probably shouldn't say this, as a teenager, they used to have a beer wagon as part of the parade, and all us.
I've seen photographs of that beer wagon.
And all us young'uns, all us teenagers would try our very best to go grab a couple of beers and pretend that we were older than we thought we were. And sometimes we got away with it, and sometimes we didn't get away with it. But no harm, no foul, nothing ever came of it. We were probably too young to drive anyway. And at the end of the summer, the Park and Rec put on a water carnival over at Sandy Island with a boat parade and water skiing competitions and all sorts of games for kids and everything. And that was always Labor Day weekend. And it was always kind of bittersweet, because in 2 or 3 days we'd all have to go back to school for another school year. But that was always a lot of fun. Like I said before in my last interview, I lived on South Street and I spent a lot of time at Sandy Islands swimming and just having a good time. And of course in school, and it was school time and everything, everything changed and we were back to school. And in the spring, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the marathon was always run on April 19th. April 19th was always a holiday back then. It wasn't always the third Monday in April, like I think it is now. It was always the April 19th. And the only time they ever didn't run the marathon April 19th was when it was on a Sunday, and it would be moved up until Monday. And when I was young, the race always started down by Lucky Rock on East Main Street, which is the big rock just before you get to Western Nurseries. And we'd all walk down there and watch the runners start. There was no more than 200 or 300 runners back in those days. And, you'd shoot the gun and it'd be off, and that would be it. Then it moved up to town probably after I was out of high school, and so to where it is now. Different locations uptown to where it is now. Of course we know now what the event is like and how big it is and how important it is. And probably more so next year, more important than ever, because of what happened. And
you want to talk about how the downtown area has changed over the years, well, the businesses?
Well, the downtown was quite vital when I was young. I mean, there was 2 drugstores. There was.
What were they called?
Day Pharmacy was owned by Fred Murphy, and Hopkinton Drug was owned by Ed Katz, whose son now is the owner, Dennis Katz. And when Mr. Murphy retired, that closed. The Day Pharmacy closed, and then we were left with one. And still, even though the population has risen to 15,000, we still got one drugstore in town. And there was a few places to get coffee. You get coffee at the drugstore at Hopkinton Drug. You get coffee at Brown and Smith's, Pee Wee's Lunch.
Pee Wee's Lunch.
Pee Wee's Lunch, where some of us would hang around. They had a couple pinball machines in there,
and this is all on Main Street.
Pee Wee's was approximately where the bank is now, next to Old Town Liquors. There's the gas station, the bank. It was in that area, in the general area right there. There was a couple of homes there also, and Pee Wee's Lunch was tucked right into there. Of course, there was the Five and Dime store, or Osborne's store, and the bakery was there for where the Country Time, the
Country Plus.
Country Plus is. There was a bakery and a coffee shop there at one time too, right beside the town hall. Of course, when I was really young, there were three grocery stores. It was the First National, where Country Plus is now. There was Wood Superette, approximately where the parking lot for Hopkinton Drug is. And Clolla's when I first remember it was I think where the copy shop, what's that, actually, was it
Action Copy?
right around, or maybe next door, the storefront next door, and then in the mid to late 50s, it moved to where it is
Okay.
today. And of course,
And it was a big old barn where it is now, right? Do you
where it is
recall
now,
that?
there was the town highway barn, and the buses, the buses that went back and forth to Framingham, and used to park there and turn around there. Yeah, it was just a big building with sand in it and trucks and things like that. And seemed to be a lot. Oh, there was a women's store, and there was a men's store where the bank is now, Hopkinton, the Middlesex Savings Bank. There was a men's store owned by D.P. Day, and the women's shop was owned by, it was Emma's. Emma McBride, I believe, was her last name. That's where the gas station is now, at the corner. Is it Exxon? Or one of those. And that was right there along with, because that's where the post office used to be too, before they built one on Cedar Street. And of course, where the Hopkinton Gourmet is now, that was Rose's a beauty parlor, where that is. And I would, if you want a history of the Hopkinton downtown in the 50s and early 60s, go to the library and take out Paul Annunziata's DVD that he did with the librarian Susan Marshall, and it'll give you a history of what it was like in the 50s and early 60s. That would be my recommendation to get the whole scoop on what that was about. And what else we got there? I know this can be edited, so.
Well, yeah, but no, you're doing that's pretty good. Brown Smith, I've got.
Oh, Brown Smith. That was
Yeah.
that's where Bill's Pizza is now. It's a whole new building, of course. They tore that down and built a new building. That was the paper store, the fountain.
Is that where Jackie
Jackie
worked?
a lot of Hopkinton
Yeah.
people worked there.
Yeah.
Jackie Irving,
Yeah.
back then, her name was
Yeah.
Irving, worked there with a lot of high school kids, a lot of mothers that had kids in school. Some of my classmates' mothers worked in there, and it was the place to go to get a sandwich, a burger, soup, ice cream, coffee, newspaper, good cheer, friends. They had no tables, that they had a long counter
Yeah.
that they used, and that was in business for a lot of years, and a lot of memories about Brown Smith's. We used to, unbelievable as it may seem, when I was in high school, every Friday we'd walk downtown and go to religion classes, and the Protestants would either go to the Congregational Church or the Episcopal Church, and the Catholics would go. The Catholic students would go to St. John's. And the thing about being a Protestant, at times we would con the religious education teacher into letting us out early. We'd all sneak over to Brown and Smith's for candy or a drink or whatever, and that was a no-no. You weren't allowed to do those things. If we got caught, it would have been some severe discipline. Let's put it that way. But we never got caught, and, or maybe they just looked the other way. That's probably what it was. Looking back, yeah, they must have known. So I can still remember that. We still talk about that, you know, when I get together with some of my classmates. And going back further, back prior to high school, I just can remember where I lived. It was out in the country. I mean, it was really out in the country back in those days. And to compare South Street now to then is it's stark in its comparison. It's a whole we were just kids who were outside all the time, you know, looking for new trails in the woods, or new places to go, or playing sports in the fields and things like that. I think I've already mentioned a lot of that in my first go around.
But very rural.
Very
yeah.
incredible. It's,
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
very country. Although down at Lake Maspinock there was a lot of summer cottages. I think I mentioned that before in my lesson. Now probably 95% of them are year-round homes, whereas back then 95% of them were, the ones around the lake were
Just
summer cottages and homes. And but you know, it was a good community. It was a small community. The classes were small. Everybody took care of everybody. You know, everybody looked after everybody. You know, one mother was everybody's mother and things like that, because just about all the mothers I can remember all stayed home. They did not work, or if they did work, it was maybe at night, part-time somewhere. But it was just a different kind of life than what is going on now. And I suppose that I'll just wrap it up by saying that I appreciate being asked to be interviewed. I hope my information or my interview brings back a few memories to somebody, or helps somebody else to remember things. I know I won't go back as far as a lot of the other people that are older than I, and I hope this gets put on a DVD so I can see what other people have to say, because I'm interested in, and this is the interview is being done at the Senior Center, and this is the right place to look for information, because there is a lot of information here. And I hope that the program is a success. And again, I want to thank Linda for interviewing me, and
Thank you, Russ, for sharing your stories with us, for someone who has lived in the town for, what did we think,
57 out of my 70 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a gap in between.
A gap in between,
Yeah.
but I never lost touch.
Yeah.
My parents lived here that whole time. I was out on South Street.
Yeah.
So I didn't lose touch with the town. I still spent a lot of time here.
Yeah.
You know.
And now you're on Curtis Road.
Now I'm Curtis Road, down by Western Nurseries. Been there for 35 years last month.
And dramatic changes going on.
Dramatic
now.
changes
Yeah.
down there. But
Yeah.
to tell anybody who lives in town what the changes are, it's a big change, but hopefully we'll be able to absorb it. I suspect that construction down here is going to be going on a long time. Long time.
Yeah.
I'll probably be in my 80s by then, by the time, seriously.
Yeah. That's a big one.
Yeah,
That's
that's
going to be a big
one.
change.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one in town. The
Yeah.
biggest.
It might make really going to bring suburbia to the Hopkinton area, big time suburbia.
I would say, and and some people may disagree with me, but a lot of people talk about rural character. Well, I was here when it had true rural character, and a little bit every day is waning. It still has some rural character, but it's
Yeah,
on the downslide of true rural character.
yeah, yeah. All right, Russell, so
Thank
we
you.
really want to thank you. It was terrific.
Well, you're welcome.
All right.
I hope I've added something to this
I'm sure you have.
dialogue.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
Great, thank you.